The watercolour illusion. The watercolour illusion is a visual phenomenon characterized by the perception of a surface colour which arises from the boundary contours. The illusion occurs within an area enclosed by a light chromatic contour which is surrounded by a darker chromatic contour. Figure 1 is a demonstration of the watercolour illusion. The image consists of a purple contour which is flanked by an orange contour on one side. The surface abutting the orange contour appears tinted orange. This effect is significant for understanding vision as it demonstrates the strength of the visual system's long-range assimilative colour spreading and also can be used to demonstrate Gestalt's principles of figure ground segregation. The watercolour illusion presents two main effects: colour assimilation and Gestalt's figure ground assignment. Colour assimilation refers to a shift in the perceived colour of a region towards the chromatic appearance of a nearby inducing stimulus. Because the induced colour is generally the same chromaticity of the flanking line, the watercolour illusion has been characterized by the assimilation effect. Figure ground assignment refers to determining that some regions of a stimulus belong to a foreground object or figure and other regions are a part of the background. It is a process of the middle vision. According to this approach, the boundary is owned or perceived to be owned by the figure. The coloured surface in the watercolour effect is perceived as the figure. Another proposed theory for how the watercolour illusion occurs is that it is the result of local to global processing of visual information. During the local processing stage, spatial frequency and detailed information is processed, such as the contours. This is followed by the global processing stage, which is when the low spatial frequency information is processed. This enables large-scale colour spreading onto the bordered surface. The watercolour effect's spacing constraints. In Devnik and Spillman's study, the range which the chromatic border signals are spatially integrated to enable colour spreading to occur was investigated. The study involved two experiments, however both experiments were tested using the same participants during one time period. In Experiment 1, the effect of spaces between two inducing contours was tested. The stimuli patterns for Experiment 1 are demonstrated in Figure 2. They consisted of a rectangular surface which is defined by an orange and purple contour. There were 5 stimuli patterns used, which each had different widths of interspace between the orange and purple contours. In Experiment 2, the effect of spacing between dots composing the contour was tested. The stimuli for Experiment 2, demonstrated in Figure 3, were the same shape and colour as the stimuli in Experiment 1, however the contours consisted of dotted instead of continuous lines. There were 4 types of this stimulus, which had different size gaps between the dots composing the contours. To test both experimental conditions, 4 participants were required to view a computer screen in a dark room. A stimulus pattern was then presented on the screen to the participant. The participant were then required to adjust the chromaticity of the enclosed area using keyboard keys until the enclosed area appeared achromatic. In both Experiment 1 and 2, the strength of colour assimilation decreased rapidly as the spaces between the contours increased. This decrease was evident for the stimuli in both experiments which had the smallest spaces inserted. These findings suggest that both spatial contiguity within and between the bordering contours are important for colour assimilation in the watercolour effect. A research question which would extend the literature on the watercolour illusion would be: at what spatial frequencies is the watercolour illusion able to be perceived? My reasoning for this question is because of the theory that colour assimilation occurs from local to global processing of vision, and that high frequency processing occurs first. The experiment would involve participants being presented with 5 different stimulus patterns. The stimulus patterns would be the same image of a double contour, creating a watercolour illusion. However, 2 of the image would be filtered so that different levels of low frequency information in the image is removed, and another 2 images would be filtered so that the high frequency information is removed. 1 image would be as normal. The participants would be required to view the stimulus patterns on a computer screen and report what they see. A colour matching apparatus would be used. My expected results from this experiment is that for those images which have either all high or all low spatial frequency information removed, participants will not perceive the watercolour illusion. I would also like to find out of interest if individuals with schizophrenia or autism also experience the watercolour effect to the same extent as others.